What's up, St. Louis? It's Luke Farrell with the STL Bucket List Show. We're so excited to celebrate 70 plus episodes and keep bringing you the people, places, and events that make St. Louis special. This episode specifically is presented by the Wine and Cheese Place, which has been locally owned and operated since 1982. The Wine and Cheese Place has 5 different St. Louis area locations in Town and Country, Creve Coeur, Kirkwood, Clayton, and their newest location, Spirit Wine and Craft in South City. The Wine and Cheese Place and Spirit and Craft carry 5,000 plus wines, 1,200 beers, 1,000 whiskeys, hundreds of cheeses, and plus a great selection of specialty food and gifts. They support local whenever possible too. If you go into their sections, they always have a Made in STL section. Plus, their staff is educated and they know just about everything you need to know about spirits, wine, and even cheese. So stop into one of their 5 St. Louis area locations, or you can go directly to their website and order online at thewineandcheeseplace.com.
If you want to hear about St. Louis, tune into the Bucket List Show weekly. Hear what Marissa and Luke say. It drops every Wednesday. Got a dope new guest every single week. Buckle up for the ride. Who's it gonna be? Who's on the show today? They rep St. Louis. What to do in the loo on a late night, or maybe what to do on a date night. Yeah, Bucket List has you covered. They know what's going on. What's going on, they'll give you, hey, 18 different things to do, or 19 if you need one more to choose. Yeah, this city is a place we call home. A place we call home, yeah.
What's up, St. Louis? Thank you guys for tuning in to another week and episode of the STL Bucket List Show. I am your host, Marissa Farrell.
And I am your other host, Luke Farrell, and we really couldn't do the show without you guys who listen each and every week, but also our friends over at the Regional Arts Commission of St. Louis. They're the largest public funder of arts and art programming right here in the city of St. Louis, and if you didn't know, St. Louis is an arts town. Just all the stuff going on this summer, free events out in the parks, there's so much local art to support in St. Louis, and a lot of things going on with us. We got the Locals Choice Awards party coming up. We got somebody that's voted in that party on the list today. So Marissa, if you want to do the intro and we can get right into it, episode 71, baby.
71, oh my gosh. So we are welcoming, I'm going to call you friend because I know
friend.
that's your go-to. Hey friend. Keisha Mabry Haymore with us, and you're the founder, an operator, director of operations. I'm just throwing all the titles at you, of Heyday's headquarters, and then a variety of resume, your list is like goes on and on and on. You have your hand in a lot of cookie jars, and it's amazing to see like someone balance all of that, and just we're gonna get into all the things that you do. So thank you for being here.
Let's do it. Thanks for having me, friend.
Yeah, we've been a big fan of yours for a while, and I am kind of the type of person, like I use social media to get inspired, and like you're one of the people in St. Louis that inspire us, but we've never really talked. So I was like, it's weird when you know people, but then you're like, oh, I'm just going to send her a message one day. And I was like, hey, like come on the pod. Like that's how we
have a conversation.
Yeah. So got you on the pod, but a lot of people want to know a little bit more about your upbringing, kind of where you grew up at, where you're from, a little bit more about your childhood, and then kind of what led you to where you are today. So I know it's a long answer, but if you just want to give us
background and upbringing, and then we'll kind of trail to the other stuff.
We'll get into that. So
Originally from Kentucky, definitely country at heart. Depending on how late you hang with me in a day, you will definitely hear my country twang. Hey. And grew up riding horses, just doing like a lot of creative things. My mom was really into us choosing one thing a year. So whether it was, what did I do? Dancing, or I played the flute for a year. She just really wanted us to be exposed to things, which was really dope. My mom was also really big into education, so I was involved in everything. I was in a ton of scholar programs. I was president of my high school, president of my dance team. And then we always would travel. So my mom was really big on education exposure. And so I just remember taking a bunch of road trips during the summer. And when we did staycations, my mom would always cook and take us traveling via food. So she would like grab a walk. Or I just remember one time she was like, I want you to have a fine dining experience. So I remember her serving me and my friends with like the white little cloth over
yes, the napkins.
the napkin over her arm. And we were just that house where everyone hung out and where people just had a good time. So really
so
beautiful
cute.
childhood. Had some crazy moments as well, but for the most part, crazy, beautiful.
Oh, that's
nice.
sweet. I'm like picturing that because like I just remember even as a kid like playing restaurant.
Yeah.
Just, like and then like with your mom, like how cool is that? And your friends over. I love that. I love that image.
I know, and it's so nice that you got to like learn throughout these trips. Like, hey, we're gonna take these trips,
Yeah.
but they're gonna be educational. And what was the term
Definitely.
you used? Educational and experimental.
Yeah, so education and exposure. So my mom was like, life is about being educated and also being exposed. And so she wanted us to learn as much as we could, but also have as many experiences as we could as well.
I feel like that's something that like really is a good foundation for what you do now, right? And what you offer to other people. So let's kind of transition into how you got to where you before we like say all the things that you're doing. Let's talk about like school and college and like where your mind was at, where you were headed, and where you are now.
Yeah, so for school, I stayed in Kentucky. I thought about going away, but my family just had a lot going on. So I'm like, let me just stay close to home. And actually, it was free. I got so many scholarships. So I applied to like over 30 scholarships when I was in high school. I got enough money to buy my first car. I got enough money to have savings for 4 years. So I really didn't have to work. I worked so that I could get experiences, but for the most part, I had enough savings not to. And so it was really cool to take that same mindset that my mom had. I'm like, okay, how can I get educated? How can I get exposed? And so I took that into college. I got my MBA in entrepreneurship after undergrad. I always felt that I wanted to do something that was both educational, but also entrepreneurial. Didn't know what that was. And then I came across a term called social entrepreneurship. And I'm like, ooh, that's it. And so from there, the journey just continued.
Wow. So being an entrepreneur, you have to be very social. And especially like you just said, the keyword social entrepreneurship. How would you describe yourself that like maybe others wouldn't? Like something that's just like, oh, I never would have thought to describe you that way. Like you know who you are to your core. How would you describe yourself?
I think it would be the same. I think I'm an open book, and I think people know that I'm really just the friend that wants to see people win. And I think everybody else would describe me as that as well. So, yeah, I don't know if there is a different phrase I would use.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
So how soon after college did you pursue entrepreneurship? Were you an entrepreneur in college, or were you just studying it and then you took a job? Kind of tell us about that story a little bit.
Yeah, great question. I've been an entrepreneur since I was in elementary school. So I was raised by a single mother, and my mother used entrepreneurship as a pathway to economic mobility. So I grew up witnessing that. So I just remember my mom used to turn everything into a way to make money. And I'm like, dang, this lady's like such a hustler. But in the growing up, I don't think I realized what she was doing, like or why she was doing it, right? Like, I don't think I had the term entrepreneurship. I think it was a matter of like, my mom's going to do what she has to do to provide for her family. And so I just remember seeing that and seeing it modeled. And I don't think I had the language of entrepreneurship and probably until I was in high school, but really, to be honest, probably college. But I had a business, which is funny. So we had a family friend who worked at a candy factory, and he used to get all this free candy. And so my mom and I just started this candy business. And so we would sell it everywhere. I would sell it at school. I would take orders the day before. And then I would fill the orders the next day. Because we were like the house that everyone would go to, we would sell candy at, when people would come over. We used to freeze Kool-Aid and sell that, my brother and I. So we were always just like selling candy. And again, it's not until now that I reflect, I'm like, where did my entrepreneurial spirit come from? It was from that, even though I didn't have the words or the language at that time.
That's all you knew.
That's interesting, and that's cool. So that you always had this, your mom had that. So your mom was a big role model for you.
Oh,
then,
absolutely.
And still is, probably.
Yeah, still is. Like, my mom went back and got her MBA at 50.
Wow.
She's
That's awesome.
definitely a possibility model. She has shown me that it doesn't matter how old you are or where you are in life. Like, you can always achieve more or accomplish more, do more. So yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah. So what led you here to St. Louis to build all that you have created here? And let's talk about the support and the lending hand that St. Louis has given to you.
Yeah, so I'm not going to lie. When I first moved here, I did not like it here.
I want to hear that because I mean, that's honest. Yeah.
I didn't see myself building community here. I didn't see myself staying here either. The commitment for Teach for America is 2 years. And so when I got that feeling, I'm like, well, I'm here 2 years and I'm out of here. And I think the biggest thing that presented that feeling to me was it just didn't feel welcoming. And I don't think it's intentional, right? Like a lot of people are from here or they come back here, so they already have their communities, they already have their tribes. And so letting a new friend in is kind of like, no new friends, right? And I'm like, oh my God, someone be my friend.
Yes.
And so I told myself if I was going to be here, and even if it was only going to be 2 years, I had to bloom where I was planted and do my part to build community. So I forced myself to meet 100 people in 100 days. A lot of people have heard this story. And I did that by going everywhere. Like anytime I saw a networking event, I went. I signed up for everything, every fellowship I saw, every like leadership opportunity I saw, I signed up for it. And that first year allowed me to really connect deeply here because I think St. Louis is a show me city. Not from a standpoint of show me what you can do for me, but just show me that you're authentic and genuine. And once people realize that about you, then they can trust you and let you into their friend group, you know? So I did a lot of intentional work to make that happen.
Yeah.
100 people in 100 days. How did you keep track? Did you have like a journal or did you just like intentionally in your mind, no, I just need to like meet somebody and connect with somebody
so
today?
It wasn't like, let me document this.
Right.
I documented it after the fact, though. But in the moment, it was just like every day I have to force myself to meet at least 1 to 2 people. Like just every day, be intentional. When you go to the grocery store, when you pump your gas, like just throughout your regular everyday life, be intentional about saying hello to someone and meeting someone. And so that's what I did.
Was that uncomfortable for you?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I've always been a crazy people person. I've never really met a stranger. Same with my mom. But here, it's a little uncomfortable.
And how long ago was that when you came to St. Louis?
Yeah, I moved to St. Louis 10 years ago.
Okay, 10 years. Yeah.
And now you've planted here. You have a family here.
I do.
Did
So
you meet your husband here?
I met my husband here.
Was he one of those 100 people?
He was.
That would have been something.
He was not. So I met my husband through Teach for America.
Okay.
Yep.
Amazing. So is he in education as well?
He's still
then?
in education.
Wow.
I got out. But
Yeah.
I'm kind of still in it differently.
Sure.
But yeah, he's still in education.
I think education is so important, and I'm an entrepreneur as well.
Well,
and
you have to say that. Come on now.
Wifey's a teacher as well. But as far as like educating yourself is like nobody teaches you the things that I'm learning on a daily basis.
Oh, absolutely.
So I feel obligated now being in it for 4 years, which isn't that long, but 4 years of dedicated entrepreneurship is a lot. I've seen a lot of stuff, and I've failed a lot of failure and a lot of success, but like it doesn't feel good unless you could talk to people about it and if you can teach other people. And now I've been seeing people as of late like asking for me to be their mentor, which I'm like, well, this is crazy. Like I need a mentor. Everybody needs a mentor.
I still need a mentor.
But like I need help. But it's like in talking to people and in educating and then podcasting as well is like you can kind of like get out like this is really hard and people need to talk about it. So how soon? So you were at Teach for America for 2 years. What did you do in between that? And you did a lot of different ventures. You've worked for a lot of, different corporations, but like what led you out of Teach for America and into the world of entrepreneurship?
Yeah. I've had probably 10 roles in 10 years. And, like that's frowned upon. Well, now it's not as much so, but like when I was coming out of school, it was, like I'm in my 30s. And so people were like, oh my gosh, you keep leaving your job. I'm like, yes, like this was a job for that moment.
Yeah.
It's time for me to move on and that's okay, So I've done everything. Right after teaching, I was in business development, as well as R&D for food distribution, which is crazy. So I learned a lot about the food business. Then I left there and went back into education. I helped launch an education technology startup, took that to market. I've done everything from operations to innovation to HR. Most recently, before opening Heydays, I ran an accelerator for entrepreneurs to help them get access to capital. So every piece of business I've done, and now looking back on it, it's like that makes sense because as a business incubator, I'm now able to think about businesses from every single perspective, from HR, operations, from sales and marketing. And then also along that journey, I became a digital coach with Grow with Google. So now I'm a certified digital marketer. So it's been really cool to take all of my experiences and bake it into this current, venture. But going through it, you're like, what the F am I doing?
I'm here, I'm there. But
And you're just jumping in, and you feel like you're like, and then like your family's like, so what do you do now?
Right? I'm
And
like,
you're
I don't know.
Yeah.
But
it is important. Every experience is important as long as you take something from it. Like you do have to. You can't just be like, well, that was a waste of my time or 2 years. You have to have that mindset that there's always something that you can take from it.
Absolutely.
and you're using a lot of the stuff. So what drew me to Heydays was not only the branding. The branding's on fire. Like it's so good.
Being vibrant and
the vibes of everything is great. But what you guys are you're not just a co-working space.
Right.
Like I probably shouldn't even have said that. Oh, you're a co-working space. Like you're way more than just a co-working space. Like you're a digital coach. Like what type of services do you guys offer? Let's get into what you're doing now, and basically like what made you start Heydays, and then get into like some of the services that you guys offer and stuff like that.
Yeah, so when I launched the education technology a few years ago, as a woman and as a person of color, I felt like I really didn't see many possibility models in our ecosystem. Like there was a lot of movement happening, but when entrepreneurship was talked about, and when it was, and the person who was doing the talking rather didn't look like me, right? So for me, I'm like, okay, is this possible, right? Like I don't see people that look like me, and I don't see entrepreneurship being talked about or done in the way that I'm trying to do it, which is so important because I think often when we think about entrepreneurship, we can easily go to the Silicon Valley way of thinking where everyone has to get venture capital money and exit. When a lot of people really just want to build lifestyle businesses, right? They want businesses that support their family, that bring economic mobility to their communities. And so that wasn't the case, when I was starting and launching, the ed tech startup. So that it was just a nugget. I didn't think I would do anything with it, but, it was observation. So fast forward to me running the accelerator, I'm like, wow, things really haven't changed a lot, and that was a good 3 to 5 years. So after that, I'm like, darn, do I have to be the one to change it? Sometimes when you recognize the problem, you're like, do I have to be the one?
Right. Or can I help? Can I call somebody?
But that's a
Can I
lot
phone a
to
friend?
think about, right? Can I phone a friend? I mean, really, because it's like, I know something needs to be done, but oh my gosh, do I have the time?
Yep.
Do I have the energy? Do I have the
Resources.
resources
All
and
the
tools to do
things.
it?
Yep. So I ignored it. And I left my role at the accelerator. This was August of last year, thinking I would chill for the rest of the year. I had just had a baby. I'm like, I've been like going on 10. Like I'm just ready for like a mini sabbatical.
Sure.
Within a week of leaving, I came across the building. And it's crazy because they weren't showing it to me for me. They were showing it to me because I have a huge network. So they're like, the building's off market. It goes to market next week, but if you know anyone, let us know. And I couldn't get the building out of my head when I left. I'm just like, I guess I got to do something. And so that nugget came back, and before you know it, I'm like, okay, I'll take the building. And then the rest was just like crazy, I didn't have a name. I didn't have any marketing, anything. So that was October of last year. So the first thing I did was hired a marketing agency. I hired Girl Louie, and they're amazing. And then when I was thinking about like the look and feel, I just kept thinking about a tennis shoe. And I'm like, tennis shoes are warm, they're cool. So I sent them all of these cool like tennis shoes. I'm like, I love these colors. They feel warm and comfy. Developed a brand around these tennis shoes. And within a few weeks, we had a brand. I say, hey friend all the time. Heydays. I was watching like some type of movie, and they kept talking about a heyday. And I'm like, oh, that's it, Heydays. And so really I swear the universe just started piecing things together. And here we are.
So what does Heydays mean exactly? Like,
Yeah, so it means like, unfortunately, it means like your moment of like when you were at your prime,
Yeah.
you know, like you can't have that again. But we're trying to redefine that,
Every
meaning
day.
people can always have a heyday. Like you can have a heyday every day. And you can always reinvent yourself to like get back to that pivotal moment of your life. So that's what we're trying to incorporate and educate into the space. Is like, this is a space for you to take up space, like all your power, all the money you want to make, all the resources you want to get connected to, like you can do it here.
That's awesome. I love that. I love the idea of it.
Yeah,
behind
take
a
up
heyday.
space. That's a good episode name. Take up
Well,
space.
so then like, okay, so let's talk about taking up space in your space. What does that look like? Is that a subscription or membership, and like what all is included? Is it like you can come for a day or a few hours? Like what does it look like for you?
Yeah, it's all the above. We exist to make co-working, resources, connections, back office support, and everything else you need to start and scale a business accessible. And so when I was thinking about it, I'm like, well, what's the name for that? Like, I don't know. So we do call ourselves a co-working space, but we're more than a co-working space. We are a space that works for our founders. We center women and founders of color because our goal is to get them the resources they need to grow and scale. St. Louis is leading the nation for female entrepreneurship, and it's starting to lead the nation for founders of color, starting and growing and scaling businesses as well. But when you look around, none of the spaces are owned or operated by a person of color. And so for me, possibility model, and I've said this term a few times throughout this episode, that is important. Like a possibility model shows you what's possible. So being the first Black-owned business incubator and co-working space in St. Louis was not only it wasn't really even a personal goal, but it's so important for people to see themselves. So that's really what I want the space to be, a place where people see themselves and a place that's accessible. So we have day passes where people can co-work $10 a day. You don't have to have a full membership. We do have full memberships too. We have virtual membership where you can get your mail service and things through. So all those typical things that a standard co-working space would have. But we also have this holistic program of back office support. So accounting, HR operations, sales and marketing, graphic designers, photographers, videographers, virtual assistants, like every piece of your business, you name it, we have an in-house person or a partner that can support you with that. And then in addition, we have small event space, we have content creation space, and then we also have an in-house event producer who can support you with events, with activations that you want to do. And then we're just constantly building partnerships. So we have partnerships with at least 5 local banks and CDFIs to help our founders and creatives get access to funding, partnerships with a local investment company to help entrepreneurs start IRAs for their investments, and then partnerships with local legal services so that entrepreneurs can get pro bono or low bono legal services.
Fantastic. I mean, that's incredible to have that. That goes beyond. That just goes beyond.
Yeah.
I mean, really. So congratulations.
Yeah,
Thank
And
you.
you opened in February this year, right?
We opened in
So you-
February.
You saw the building October. What a quick turnaround of
Yeah.
like
The build
wow.
out, and then like so you bought the building before you made the business, basically. You like
Right. We acquired.
you just saw the building, you saw potential, and you were like,
Yeah. So the dope thing is the building didn't require any build out.
Okay.
It was move and ready, which was amazing.
You
The
just had to
biggest
paint.
didn't even have to
Oh,
paint. The
just
biggest
furnish.
issue was furniture. Like the supply chain for furniture was still crazy
and you were
last
like, I
year.
need what I want. You're like, I want this
Yeah,
certain vibe, and I have
want
to get it.
exactly. And so that was the longest thing that that was the longest part of the process was just like acquiring the furniture, getting it delivered, and everything like that. And for me, I did not buy the building. I want people to know that. Because this is still a pilot, I'm still in my MVP phase, which is your minimum viable product. So before you go all in on things, sometimes you want to create an MVP just to know how you need to pivot. And so I did not want to acquire the building because I wanted to launch this with the lowest cost possible.
Yeah.
So I am leasing. Now, who knows, in the next year, once I've taken this thing fully to market and I, get the data back and things like that and really understand, how it needs to be and where it needs to be, then I definitely want to purchase a building. But it is okay to start with the MVP, and I want people to know that.
Oh, absolutely. And you just have to start. That's all you have to do is you just have to actually just start. But the MVP stage, I love that term because you're testing it. Once it works, then are you planning to scale this to other neighborhoods and cities, or is that obviously you said
I know.
People have asked me already, like Charlotte, Kansas City, Memphis, Louisville, and like 3 or 4 other markets. And I'm just like, I just want to focus on this one.
Yeah.
Like, just let me focus on the one.
Get it right.
You know?
Yeah.
But who knows? Yeah. And I used to be scared to say that, right? Like, I used to feel like I had to have the 5 to 7 year vision, and I'm honestly saying that I don't, and I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with like the now and figuring out like what that looks like for now. So yeah, the answer is I don't know.
I love that you say that because we've had many guests who have said that 5-year plan, like, don't even stress on it. Just don't.
It'll
Just
come.
take care. It will come. Take care of what needs to be done now, and then the rest will roll out how it's supposed to.
And we're the same way. Like, people are like, oh, are you going to like expand your company in other cities? And we're like, no, I mean, we just love like working and living in St. Louis, and we can build a great business here.
Absolutely.
And we've built great partnerships, and we've treated people right. And there's no reason to like run out and try to chase bags all over the country. You know, like you can focus on what's around you, and there's a lot of opportunity here, and like you're capturing it. But then also, as Heydays evolves, you're gonna start seeing your children, so to speak, go out and get their own spaces, and then you're gonna have this web around the city of like, look, and you probably already. I mean, it's only been 4 months, but I'm sure you have some success stories already, and I want to hear about like if you have one that you can share of like somebody that came to your space,
or you do the oh my gosh, hold on, let me look. Masterclass.
Yeah.
Like, so even anything from that, and I do want to touch on some of those other programs that you kind of run and that people can reach out to you about in order to just get some more resources.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, every week we have a success story, right? Like, entrepreneurship shouldn't be hard. Like, how many people have gone through it, you know? Well, it shouldn't be as hard, right? Like, I think the sucky part is so many of us don't pass down the learnings, the resources, the tools, the secrets, you know? We feel like we have to hold them to ourselves. But every week someone's coming into the space like, I need a manager. I'm like, oh, just a second. here's a manager for you, you know? Oh, I need this software that does this and this and this. It's like, oh, that's a CRM. Wait a minute, here's our partner who does CRMs, right? I need a contract, or I'm in this legal dispute. Wait a minute, like, here's our partner that does this, you know? So being able to do a warm handoff versus people having to figure it out on themselves or do cold calls, like, that is success. Like, if we can help you get to your goals as an entrepreneur and a creative faster, then to us, that's successful. So since our launch, it's been crazy. We've done over 70 events with over 2,500 people. We have financially supported over 20 minority and women business owners with contracts totaling $100,000. We have supported over 1,000 founders through digital marketing, so teaching them how to increase their SEO or how to get found on Google through our Grow with Google partnership. We financially sponsored 10 community events with financial sponsorship over $10,000. So our goal is to bring resources that are in the city, because there are resources, and then bring them to founders who may not know how to connect with those resources.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, I like looking at it that way. Like, every day is a success story, even something as little as helping them set up their CRM, you know, with one of their
that's
partners.
huge.
That's huge
Like,
for them, because we've been going through that too, and like we've struggled with that because like Google searches, and I know you're a Google person, but they don't always help you.
Oh no! And you know, the other thing is, like, you just want to know that you're doing it right. You know, like you're
just
a
need somebody to
teacher.
tell you.
You know, like
right.
the student wants to know, like, am I doing this right? You know, like, they just want to be validated, and like, why should I have to figure this out when someone else has figured this out? It's just like, help me.
I think that is the hardest part about entrepreneurship is there's no one you can really ask unless you have those mentors in place. Like, like at least like even as like a teacher, okay, you can go to your principal and like they'll have that answer for you. Or there's always somebody above you that's supposed to have
mentors.
an answer.
We get
You get them handed to you, and that's like my biggest problem is like I don't come from a family full of entrepreneurs, so it's like really hard to like call somebody and just be like, hey, like what do you think? Should I make this investment? Like this is very expensive. Should I do this? Or oh, should I like hire this person? That's like what we're going through right now is that hiring phase. We're going through that growing pains of like, should I hire this person? I don't think I'm ready, but I don't think you're ever ready. You just have to pull the trigger and just make it happen.
Yeah, but if you need we have an HR partner. So.
Hey, I do.
I know a guy.
I know a person. That's a person. But yeah, I think that's the sucky part about being in the Midwest too, right? It's because like we're fed this the story that you have to leave here to make things happen. And so for the people who do choose to stay and who do choose to bloom or plant it, there aren't a lot of possibility models, you know? And so when you're creating things, oftentimes you feel like you are the only one because a lot of times you are. Yeah. Like you are the one that chose to stay here and make things happen, which is scary and it's harder. And like, my friends in New York, they're like, if you can make it in New York, I'm like, no. If you can make it in St. Louis, in the Midwest, you can make it anywhere because in those cities, they have those models, right? They have more people that they could go to who've done what they're trying to do. Yeah. Here, a lot of us are the pioneers.
Yeah, that's very true.
And I think that we relate in that is like, there's nobody doing like what we're doing with STL Bucket List and creating this independent. Like people are you a magazine? Are you a like what are you? We don't even know what we are, but we know our mission, which is to highlight people, places, and events.
We're a support system.
Yeah, you're digital media.
Yeah, we highlight people, places, and events, and we feel like we do it so well that people trust us, and then we built that trust and that brand. So now when we highlight a person or an event, then people are like, well, I want to go to that event, or I want to learn about that person and listen to that episode. And like you have models that probably around the country that you can look at, but it's like each day you're learning new things about how to be more efficient and how to help your people. Like a membership to somebody, let's say a co-working membership, like it's very expensive to that person.
Absolutely.
When I first signed up for my first co-working, I was like, even if it was $600 a month or $300 a month or $200, like to most people, it's like, oh, that's nothing. But it's like to us at that moment, that's a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a lot. Yeah. And when you pay that, you're like, okay, like this better work or this has to bring value. And you guys are like exceeding the value. And as long as you exceed the value every day, then you know you're successful at that point. You know?
That's true.
So I want to pivot just a little because we've mentioned people of color and women. And so normally we ask this question and we say, if you were going to give advice to an entrepreneur, but I want to specifically focus on young girls or women of color. What advice or just nudge would you give to them who want to do something great?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, it's to all women. I think we're often taught that you can't have it all. And I would argue that you can. You can have it all. You can have it all at the same time. It just looks different, right? I think the version of myself pre-wife, pre-mom was completely different than the version of myself now, and that's okay. Having it all isn't about trying to get back to that old version of yourself. It's about taking the version as you are now and doing dope-ish, you know? Like my daughter did not stop me and has not stopped me from achieving goals. It just looks different, right? Yeah. So I know from the time I drop my daughter off at school to the time either my husband or I pick her up, I have a good 7 hours. So now I have to figure out how can I maximize those 7 hours, where before I had the whole day, right? So like I could allow distractions to get in the way. I could leave and come back and I could try to multitask. But now it's like, no, you have 7 hours. So that means no distractions. That means the 7 hours need to be organized and planned to a T so that you can maximize this time that you have before you go home and then it's family time, right? So again, it looks different, but am I doing anything less or achieving anything less? Absolutely not. Yeah. So again, my advice would be you can absolutely have it all at the same time. It just looks different and be okay with the difference.
Great. I love it.
That's amazing. Well, it is the STL Bucket List show. So you are up for STL Bucket List Local Choice Person of the Year.
Toot your own horn for a sec.
This is
Yay.
something we introduced this event 3 years ago, and it was an event really for us to build community. We wanted to get people to our website, build that SEO, build that community, and really we wanted to get everybody together for a party. So we have a party for the top 2 in every category. So I think you're gonna make the top 2. You've been pushing it. She made her own graphic. She did. You made time in your 7 hours to make a graphic. Was that on your to-do list? She was like, to-do list, make a graphic.
Basically, but I have a social media person now, so she's
There you go.
awesome.
Hey, there you go. Optimize
it.
those 7 hours. But first question is, how does that make you feel that people are voting you as a person of the year in a city that you've been in 10 years? You've really built a brand here. So how does that make you feel when you found that out?
Yeah, it's so funny because I didn't know. People were messaging me like, hey, did you see your name on this? And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. But for me, it just means that the work must continue, right? Like when people like recognize you for things and when you are I'll just say that, like when people recognize you for things, like you then have more of a responsibility to just like show up for them, you know? So for me, it's just like, thanks for the recognition, friends. I'm like, I'm gonna go harder for the community, you know, let's go. And I just appreciate the fact that someone even took the time to do that, you know?
A lot of people voted.
Yeah.
There was a lot. And then, the data is crazy. Like, we do get a lot of votes. And, like, it's so interesting to see each year is different. It's like,
I'm sure.
you know,
That's
and
the
even
best part.
list,
We love that because we're like, oh, this is someone new doing something. You know,
That's
it's
cool.
just, that's the best
Yeah,
part.
and
I love
people come out and support. So, second part of the question, the STL bucket list means stuff different to everyone. We grew up outside of St. Louis, but still in the greater St. Louis area. So we grew up here our whole life. We've done things growing up. But what would be your STL bucket list? So this is favorite places to go, favorite places to eat. This could be anything. Like, you know, you got family in town. Where are you taking your family at? I know you she wrote a whole list.
I
was
ready.
She's hella prepared. Come on now.
I'm like, I gotta be prepared. So I wrote 2 because I'm like, I don't know if these are supposed to be spaces I want to go to or spaces
that you love. So like,
I love.
It could be both. Like, so
Okay.
our idea of the bucket list is we kind of reframe it to like, these are our bucket list things to do in St. Louis. It could be something as little as going to the farmer's market, which we're going to go to after this. Like, that's our bucket list event to go to Tower Grove.
Which one?
Tower Grove.
Tower Grove.
Oh, cool.
We do
Okay.
Soulard on the weekends too. Well, we do both on the weekends.
We go to
It
Tower
just
Grove more. We just live closer
It
to Tower
depends,
Grove.
like, because Tower Grove is right there. So I'm like, okay, if we just want to roll out and get like breakfast and then like a few things, we'll go to Tower Grove. If we want to make it like a bigger thing, we'll go to Soulard. But
Got it.
yes.
That makes sense. Okay, so for me, places that I love, coffee shop go-to is Creperie in Meshuggah. I love those 2
Never been.
places. The park that I love going to, I think it's Susan Park. I think that's how you pronounce it. But they have a farm on the park.
Really?
And yeah, so my daughter and I and my husband, we go. They have all types of animals. You can feed the animals. It's so cool.
That's amazing.
I love
And
that.
it's SUSON, so I think it's Susan. An odd find that we really liked as a family was the Neon Museum.
Oh, I heard about that. I didn't
That
get a
was
chance
really
to go
cool.
down. That looked super dope.
It's really cool. Restaurants that we love is Mescrum.
Okay. Yeah.
Love
They're
Mescrum.
so good.
And then our favorite happy hour is 5-Star Burger
Okay. In Clayton.
in Clayton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got a good happy hour. They got good
Yes.
burgers. Like, they got
you
discounted
gave
burgers.
us a new spot
You
to
get
check
little
out.
sliders. Drink. It's really great. And then also a few things I want to do. I heard there was a space shuttle cafe,
Okay.
and I really want to check that out.
know about
didn't know
that.
that.
See? We're getting things.
Blacklight mini golf.
Oh, where?
If you just Google Blacklight
Okay.
mini golf,
Okay.
and I think we're actually going to go this weekend.
Yay, fun.
Also the La Patisserie themed brunches.
They're the best.
I always get our cakes from her, but I've never been to a
She
themed brunch. But
is
she's
amazing.
amazing.
She came on our show. Yeah.
She's
She
amazing.
is the most humble, like generous,
She really is.
and her craft
Is beautiful.
I mean, the whole concept behind it. I'm going on tangent for just a minute. She like truly wants you to come in and like feel like
You're a
waited
queen.
on, like a queen, and she does that.
And
You
she's
feel and you
awesome.
feel you just leave and you feel lighter and happy, and it's yeah.
I got to get
You
there.
have to go.
She's been doing our family cakes for at least 8 years.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Okay, good.
That's
yes.
incredible.
And then last thing I want to do, which I'm doing soon, is a farm dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just did one.
We did.
Yeah, we just went
We're
to
doing
such and such farm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going in 3 weeks.
You are. You'll
Oh,
have the
nice.
best
I'm
time.
excited about that.
That's another, like, even you just talking about the park that has the animals, like, that's how that feels. It feels like
Yeah.
a little mini camping trip.
I love
And it's
it.
just, you feel relaxed in nature. They've got the fire pits. It's
They
just
got pigs and goats on the farm. They even had what'd they have?
peacock.
Peacock. Yeah, they had peacocks out
Yeah.
there.
It's just
And their food is
awesome.
bomb.
That's gonna
It's
be
well
dope.
worth the money. Like course dinner, and then like it's just great. It's only 45 minutes from St. Louis. It's not even that far.
Yeah,
so
that's not bad at all.
we love like experiencing things that are so close to St. Louis that nobody talks about enough. They're
Yeah,
like
it's
you
Like
can
a little
drive there.
hidden gem.
That was
Yeah.
one of the best STL bucket lists. You
Yeah.
went
Yes.
deep on that. I can tell you thought about
You know,
that.
I thought about
I
it.
know.
Oh, one more. There's a safari here that's about 45 minutes from here.
Is that in Warrington or Wright
Um,
City? Is that out?
Oh, don't give me a line. I think it may be called Joe's Safari or something else.
Okay.
Yeah,
But we
that's
had
in-
my daughter's birthday there. There was a hyena. Like,
Oh,
I've
God.
never seen a live hyena. It was
Dang.
amazing.
That's cool. Oh my God. Yeah,
So,
that's, I mean, those are all
I thought
spots
about it, friends.
No one
I
has
really thought
given
about
us.
it.
I know. That's
That's
incredible.
refreshing. That was awesome. Well, good.
Do
That's
you
a
have
good
any-
list.
Do you have anything else?
I don't have any. You were amazing,
Yeah.
Keisha. Seriously, thank you. I gotta
Thanks for
get
having
you
me.
like into my classroom talking to my girls club
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah,
That
she
would be
started a
cool.
new thing at school called the Sister Project, and
Yes.
it's a mentorship program for her students.
Yeah, for
so-
girls, just like building relationships with community, seeing a bit greater picture, a greater purpose, just striving, not only building your resume, but just becoming more of a whole person.
It's
High
needed.
school's rough, so we got to do what we can to kind of ground us a little bit.
No,
so.
absolutely. Let me know.
Yeah,
I'm
I
there.
will for sure.
Have
For
to.
sure.
Well, thank you all for listening to another episode, guys. Or actually, I'll let you do it. If you want to just tell them how they can find you, I know you're big on social, and then also we're sponsoring an event that you're speaking at, the Wow Marketing event.
cool.
So I'm gonna be there. We're gonna be there on the panel as well. So you're the head speaker. So that event's coming up. But then tell us how we can find you on social, how we can support your business, and your links and stuff like that.
Yeah, friends. Heydays on everything. Well, heydays.hq on LinkedIn, heydays.hq.com, and then me, Keisha Mabry, on everything, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. But really, it's not about how you can support me, but how I can support you. So feel free to drop in at Heyday. It's 9:30 to 4:30. We have monthly events, free digital marketing with Grow with Google. However we can be a resource and support, let us know.
Amazing. Thank you
Mic
so
drop.
much.
We'll
This
see
was
you
a
guys
great
next week.
episode.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the STL Bucket List Show. This episode specifically is presented by The Wine and Cheese Place, which has been locally owned and operated since 1982. The Wine and Cheese Place has 5 different St. Louis area locations in Town and Country, Creve Coeur, Kirkwood, Clayton, and their newest location, Spirit Wine and Craft in South City. The Wine and Cheese Place and Spirit and Craft carry 5,000 plus wines, 1,200 beers, 1,000 whiskeys, hundreds of cheeses, and plus a great selection of specialty food and gifts. They support local whenever possible too. If you go into their sections, they always have a Made in STL section. Plus, their staff is educated and they know just about everything you need to know about spirits, wine, and even cheese. So stop into one of their 5 St. Louis area locations, or you can go directly to their website and order online at thewineandcheeseplace.com.
Today they rep St. Louis, yeah. They rep St. Louis. They rep St. Louis.